Hello, everyone, and welcome to what is the fourth season of Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. I'm in beautiful County Clare. There are just stunning views around it. I think the air is better up here sometimes. And I'm here with farmer Patrick Davoren and his farm in Carron. I'm right saying that the right way, aren't I? Yeah. Yep. I feel like there's a local way of saying it. There's more emphasis in it. Patrick, tell us a bit about the farm here. What kind of enterprise is it, and roughly how big is it?
The enterprise in this is predominantly sucklers and calf to weanling system. So we're in the heart of the Burren, obviously. So we outwinter all our stock here. Anything that would be housed over the winter would be either replacements or maybe some of the weaker calves there that wouldn't be fit for sale in the autumn time that I'd carry over a few for the springtime. But predominantly it's a calf to weaning system. We're here in the Burren. I have approximately about 90 acres of what you'd call traditional green grass meadows, and the rest is what we'd call winterage. I have an out farm over in the village of Carron, which is about 15 minutes from here. There's about 170 acres there. Historically, the winterage would carry about maybe 60 cows. Depending on the autumn you'd be bringing them over probably around the end of October and carry them through there until calving time, sort of a thing. Maybe once they come close to calving, might bring them back here. We're here in the yard now at the minute that I'd have calving pins here, but I have about another 70 or 80 acres winterage here as well too. So when I do bring them back, I'd calf them inside. Going back the years, that's the way I used to work it. And if you could get a break in the weather, release them out onto the winterage there until we have a bit of grass. Now obviously this year was totally different for more than one reason. I mean, we got a fantastic spring around here. It was just, in my time, I don't remember it, for two reasons. One, what happened in January what happened in November with Storm Dara, and caused a good bit of damage to structures around here, and then Storm A1 there at the end of January, which finished off the job. So it was just as I was in a lucky situation where the spring did come good. I held the bulls back for breeding last year, so I was calving a couple of weeks later, but all my calving facilities and all that were out of action. They just weren't safe to get into, to get out of. So I was fortunate that I kind of could modify. There's an old slatted house here behind me, and I was able to modify that into to make use of it through the organics. So I got to convert the feeding passage there into a lying area.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because you're banking so much on the weather, and like you said, we went from two pretty severe storms very close to each other, and then to a really mild spring. I mean, Mother Nature is maybe rewarding us in a minute, but like for a bit. But if we stroll over, just look over here. I mean, when you say damage, it is quite substantial. I mean, I can see there's a large kind of hay barn type shed in front of us. There's another shed which I presume was maybe your kind of storage facilities or calving facilities, and the centre of one of the roofs has been ripped off completely. And then we're strolling around now to the other side. I mean, it looks like someo's come in with a massive kind of JCB. It is a room with a view. Yeah. We'll just go in as far as here. Dermot Bannon would be delighted to see so much potential. Exactly. But yeah, it's a fairly severe job that was done, wasn't it?
Like where we are now, this would be predominantly my calving shed. Yeah. Like, as you can see, all the gates are kind of closed back
and
there.
And the calving gates and everything.
Yeah, I can divide this up into 5 or 6 different pens, kind of a nursery area there, and then I can kind of move them around here into a more grown-up calf, we'll say a couple of days old. I have a creep gate here. I can leave the cows there. The calf can come in here and has his own dry bed. But what you don't see outside there is I did have a 4-bay hay shed roof, and Storm Dara did considerable damage to that.
I mean, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So
well,
you're rebuilding
that's
it.
kind of why exactly it, because when Storm Éowyn came along, it decided to bring the rest of the roof and deposit it across the yard in numerous places and over the fields. And like I said, I had a yard full of silage there at the time because we wouldn't be going through a lot of feed in the early part of the winter, but in the springtime we'd be using most of the silage. But I think it just seemed to rip every single bale along the way. So yeah, and of course the ones that took the most damage were the last ones to come out. They're inside at the back of the clamp. So literally that shed outside there, we just had to knock it and just start fresh. We will probably have to do something similar here, but I just want to try and get this one up, and at least I have storage here. Like this is kind of the only waterproof area I have, even though it's open on three sides. But at least there's a roof over what bit of equipment I have here at the minute.
And it's annoying because you do need storage houses on farms. Like you do, yeah.
It's horrible. Like I said, there's a 4-bay shed there. There's a 3-bay lean-to here. There's another 3-bay lean-to here. In the enterprise that I'm working, they're probably used for about maybe 5 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
This spring, I didn't need them, and that was great. But next year, these could be full for on a constant rolling.
Because you can't count on the weather. You don't know what it's going to be like.
Especially
So, and when you need sheds, you need them.
You need sheds, and especially for young stock, like weanlings and stuff like that. At least I have a place for them. But at least if I had this back in action again, which I will, young calves, even like I said, I've invested. Calf jackets are just. I'll never forget when they first came around here. You had all the older lads going around and say, "Oh, just see your man," and putting jackets on the calves and kind of scoffing at them. They're not scoffing anymore. They're not. But I think they're a gift for a calf, especially when you're up here. You're relatively high altitude, open to the elements, wind, driving rain, and sideways rain. The whole, you name it, you'll get it around here over the course of a day. So definitely, to get calves out. Obviously, the calf is going to be healthier outside. Calves inside in a shed. I remember a few years ago, going back 5 or 6 years ago. I would be a lot more heavily stocked back then than I am now. But horrible spring. Every corner, every shed I had was just full of cows, calves, the whole lot, and that cryptosporidium just, with the best will in the world, it was a case of either try and keep the calves comfortable inside or just shove them out the door into the elements, and it's catch-22,
And did things like that kind of give you kind of food for thought in terms of when you were switching to organic? Because how long have you been organic now?
Well, I'm in my second year, so I'm still in conversion. So I started joined in January of last year, 24. So I'll have a full symbol now come January of next year. But yeah, I suppose it did to a certain degree. There's no point lying. There was definitely a financial aspect to it, both in what you receive and in what you spend. Because I just seemed to be throwing out fertilizer like it was going out of fashion, but it just wasn't making. I didn't. When you came to the end of the year, the end of December, what you have in your bank account, that's what you have made over the course of the year, and it just didn't seem to be there.
Any sound business person will tell you that the only way to make a profit is to control your costs. Correct. And fertilizer is a huge cost, but farmers aren't really taught to think of it like that.
Not enough, and look, I'm probably the same myself as well too, but not enough farmers farm their farm as a business. It's handed down from father to son, and it's there in the family name, yada yada yada. It's a business. you have to be a small bit ruthless. Okay, look, we all have our favourite cows. And
Yeah,
we
we
don't
do
want to
all
get rid of
have
them,
our
like,
favourite cows.
yeah.
Yeah.
But being realistic, like, I mean, for me, my cow is my bread and butter. If she's not producing, I'm not making money. We're all in it for the same game. Different degrees of love for it. We love it as a business. We love it as a way of life, as a lifestyle. But ultimately, you're there to make money. You're there. You have to pay the bills. You have to live. You have to eat. You have to keep a roof over your head. I have a family of 3 kids, like, you know, so they have to go to school. There's college coming down the line. So ultimately, you have to be a small bit ruthless. Okay, you can be nice. You can do the nice things and sort of thing. You know, kind of. Oh, look, we'll give her another year. But ultimately, if they're not producing, you're not making money. But that's it. Like even still, like, I mean, there's a lot of farmers, especially in the west of Ireland. If you were actually to break down the time and the hours you put into it, I mean, it's, you know, you're not getting paid for your own time.
No, you get paid more working a little,
You
and
would,
that's sad.
100%, 100%. Now I work off farm as well too, because I'm kind of self-employed as well, so like I can call my own time. But you know, it's gone are the days where a 50-60 cow suckler farm would rear a family.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Unless current beef prices stay the way they do. If we had a crystal ball, we'd know. But then the only reason beef prices are as high as they are is because so many people got out or downsized their herds. It's the shortage of beef that was caused by poor prices.
Yeah. But then you see, I was only talking to my cousin there only a short while ago, and we were talking about the same thing. It's like you said, it's supply and demand. But if the supply gets too dear, is the demand going to wane? Who knows? And like as you said, you need a crystal ball, and to be honest, farming is a lot of a crystal ball. Like, you know, trying to predict the weather. Like I said, I'm preparing to cut silage this afternoon or tomorrow, and you know, this morning's rain kind of put the kibosh on that. But you know, it's all a crystal ball. Like I said, I sold weanlings there last October. I mean, I kept some of my younger calves that would have been later calves from last year. I kept them over the winter and housed them. I doubled my money on them in the space of 5 months. Yeah. Like, they got twice. Now, they were still 300 kilo weanlings, but I still doubled my money from what the best of my weanlings I was getting last October.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Do you know, and that's just going in the space of 6 months.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. If we talking about costs, I imagine the cost to rebuild these sheds is eye-watering compared to what it was the first day ever.
Well, I won't tell you what that shed cost the first day ever, because that's my father put that up when they moved over here, so that's nearly 50 years ago. So there's definitely a big change in price since then. But yeah, look at it. It's insurance will go a good bit of the way, but like I said, it's out of my own pocket. Yeah. The rest of it, like I said, I'll have that up, but I still have to face into the rest of the buildings.
There's always something, isn't there? Always something. We're strolling through the farmyard now. I can see, you're getting ready to cut silage. All the equipment is on the back of the tractor. Would you usually cut silage this time of year, or how do you plan it, or do you have a 2-cut system or a 1-cut, or how do you work it out?
Predominantly, there's one main cut, but like I said, with the last year or two now, I've had to re-educate myself in how to save silage or grow grass without the ability of artificial fertiliser. But we haven't been too bad. Like I said, I have been focusing hugely on my P's and K's and PHs. So it is helping. But I would do probably one big first cut, and I'll close a few paddocks here and there where I can, if it does get a bit ahead of me. But I wouldn't do as big a second cut. But like I said, at the minute we're standing here in a fresh reseed. At the minute,
That's red clover. That's what I'm looking at. So how did you go about sowing it? Because of course you couldn't spray it off or anything like that.
No, I couldn't spray it off, but because we got such a good spring, as I was calving my cows, this field is right beside the yard, so I let out my cows here and the calves here, put a round feeder here, and supplement them with silage, and just they skinned it as much as physically possible. Dissed it, gave it a couple of passes. The weather turned, which actually helped it. So we left it about maybe 3 weeks, and then we disked it again. It got wet, and then the weather turned again. It dried out, and he disked it. Came and did a second pass on it, and really made a super job of it. And back into last year, I invested in a springtime harrow and an air seeder through Thames.
And did you get the organic Thames for that?
Yeah. Obviously, it was a huge help. So once he had it dissed, picked a few stones in it. Now, fortunately, I think I had half a bucket of stones on the front loader.
That's amazing.
I was absolutely shocked from it. But anyway, I won't jinx myself.
You've got to thank your forebears for building so many stone walls in the first place. They cleared it for you.
But gave it a few passes then with the tine harrow, and literally turned it into dust. It was I couldn't have asked for it any better. I had farmyard manure that I had I got sprayed out in it beforehand, before we disked it. But turned it into so the tine harrow, gave it a couple of passes. I had the weather, I had the time, and it really made a super job of it. And waited for my weather to come, gave it a pass with the ring roll, or the land roller, just to kind of firm up the seed bed, and another pass then with the tine harrow and the air seeder, and rolled it again, and then just sat back and waited.
That's amazing.
And waited. Rain was a bit slow coming. I'd say it was 2 weeks in the ground, the seed, before the rain came. Slower than a normal reseed, without a shadow of a doubt. A lot of the old grass is actually, you can see it there, the old grass coming back again. But I said, what are we now? We're in the 20th of June, so I'd say it was probably middle of April, I'd say, when I reseeded this. Now it's coming. It'll take a while. Like I said, I'm not going to be taking 4 cuts off it this year or anything like it. But I reckon, we'll get 1 cut off it definitely, and we'll see. But I'd be hoping maybe from next year, when it has kind of gets a chance to establish itself, it should come into something good.
It should be rocket fuel, because you'll be hoping for red clover, about 16% protein, and obviously that'll offset the organic feed costs, because organic feed is so expensive. So hopefully it'll have paid for itself in a few years.
Well, that's the plan. Like I said, all I had to I got a guy in to do the disking. That was really kind of my only expense. Everything else I was able to do myself. Predominantly that is why I got it. I decided to try it. It was an ideal paddock right close to the shed. I'm hoping, maybe keep a few of the weanlings, anything I keep over the winter, it'll help them. And as you say, any of the reports or news you read about it, it is supposed to be fantastic stuff. So look, time will tell. Patrick,
we're coming to the end of the podcast now. I'm just wondering, do you have any kind of thoughts you'd like to pass on from your own farming experiences, or say if anyone was thinking of getting into organics, or even someone out there who is currently in organics, anything that you'd like to share with them?
I'll repeat what I read and heard on numerous occasions. If you are interested in organics, give it a go. But 2 things. Go in with your eyes and your mind open, because you're not going to be able to farm conventionally, or even as regards stocking levels or anything like that. You really have to be able to just kind of take a step back and, as they say, see the wood for the trees. But it's doable. It is doable. Now, like I said, around here, I suppose to a certain degree, I have a fallback with the winterage. If the weather does turn seriously bad, I can release the cows onto the winterage, and they're safe as houses down there. Like I said, there's even times of the year there you can see there's a bundle of cows over there. They only came up from there last night. There's a valley down there. Let them up there. They'll spend a week about there. I suppose there's about maybe 25 acres there of a crag. No, it's not. There's sections of it that are quite grassy, and there's sections of it that are quite rocky. But they'll spend about a week or 10 days there, and then they'll move over closer towards some stage when I get the silage cut into a bit of aftergrass. But it's a great kind of a backup for me, but it's not going to suit everyone. It really isn't going to suit everyone. You're going to have to cut your stocking right. You're going to really have to focus on your P's and K's and your pHs for your soil. Soil is what you really need to look after, because if you haven't got them right, you're not going to grow grass. Yeah. And in organics, it's essentially a grass-based system, because the price of any concentrates like that, they're not cheap. They have their uses. I wouldn't knock them. I've used them, but at their pricings, they're not cheap.
Do you make a bit more money now that you're not paying for chemical fertiliser, and now that you do have a lower stocking rate and you're in organics, do you think, rather than before? I mean, I know you're still early days into it.
It is, yeah, it is early days. Am I saving money on fert?
What would have been your fertiliser bill?
Oh, it would have been in the region of about 8,000-10,000. Yeah. I suppose I've cut back. I suppose it's approximately about 6 for this year, but I have certain fields here, even though we're above in the Burren, in the heart of limestone country, that I am savagely low on lime, believe it or not. So, like I said, I use a good bit of fizzolith, and P is another problem for me. Lack of P. Okay. K is not an issue. Yeah. So, like,
we're talking about potassium and phosphorus.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
But so I have been doing it for the last few years anyway. So, and I have been using those products for the last few years. So, yeah, like I said, I invested a good bit in my fizzolith, which I find great, and my peas. And like, if you can get them right, you'll grow grass, but you're going to have to cut your numbers. You're going to have to. If you're carrying 60 cows on 100 acres or whatever the case may be, you're going to have to cut back. Like I said, even now, like I said, I'm still teetering on the edge of kind of being overly stocked, in my opinion, because you're driving up the road, down the road, looking at the fields and going, God, is it growing? And you're kind of saying a prayer going up the road, I hope to have grown by the time I come back tomorrow. But you just have to, it's a brave move. You have to be a bit brave to do it. It's not going to suit everyone, but you just have to just kind of be prepared to make changes.
Sounds like you're getting a real handle on it.
I am, like I kind of am. Like it's so hard as well too with the weather as well. It's kind of, it go back to the crystal ball again. What's it going to do tomorrow? Unsure. What's it going to do next spring? Having a notion.
You're in the Burren in County Clare now. Come on now. You know what the weather's like.
Yeah, look, we're not far from the coast here. So I guarantee you're going to get plenty of rain. Yeah. But look at it. It's just. You're better off to start a little bit, maybe a step or two down the ladder, and build yourself up. But outside of that, it's not going to work for everyone. You're going to have to sit down, crunch your numbers, and just say, is this the way I want to go? And be prepared to have lads asking 100 million one questions, and could you not do this, and would you chance doing that? And it's because no, you're either in it or you're out of it.
A couple of nosy.
Oh, yeah, well, I won't say nosy, but they're more curious. But you have to be you have to try different things and you have to try new things. And like we were talking about there earlier on, there's no point doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result, because that's only breeding madness.
Very good. Patrick, thank you very much for that. For everyone else who's been listening, you've been listening to the 4th season of Organic Matters. There's a huge back catalogue there, and you can find them wherever you listen to your podcasts. From me, Hannah Quinn-Mulligan, thank you very much. If you want to find out more about organics, you can go to www.irishorganicassociation.ie, and we'll have another podcast for you in 2 weeks' time.